In Stanley Kubrick's seminal science fiction motion picture, 2001 A Space Odyssey, we witness Kubrick's attempt to awaken society to the challenges that lie ahead for a human race propelling itself towards the inevitable meshing of man and machine. During this beautifully shot 2.5-hour epic, Kubrick challenges the viewer to contemplate the deeper meaning behind our existence here on Earth, to discard the trivialities that consume our daily lives for one moment, to ask ourselves, if in our rush to advance, have we surpassed our ability to anticipate the consequences? How do we best negotiate this conflict of interest between our curiosity while still protecting our humanity? Even though we've habitated planet Earth longer than we've had the forethought to document it, the answers to the real questions continue to elude us. With our busy schedule, it is seldom that we get the time to ask ourselves what we are, or what our purpose here on Earth is, and whether the path we have chosen is the right one. Through Kubrick's limited editing style, his deliberate, methodical pace of storytelling, and sparse dialogue, he lends us the environment in which we can contemplate these important questions. There is no spoken words in the first 25 minutes of the film, and with society's limited 8-second attention span, nearly half an hour of silence to begin a movie would certainly have served as a death blow to any script long before it had crossed the boardroom table of the major film studios today. In the very opening shots, we are introduced to a desolate, virtually uninhabited desert landscape, a world devoid of human existence. Kubrick portrays the very moment the Neanderthal was given the gift of human awareness, as we, the viewers, play spectator to our very own awakening. The birth of the archaic human. The entrance into existence of the Homo sapien. Or the dawn of man. When we first meet our protagonist, he seems reluctant to impose his will on others in the animal kingdom. He is rarely combative. The pre-human primate is portrayed as a docile creature who is largely a forager, content to coexist in a symbiotic natural relationship within the animal hierarchy, relying on the local vegetation to survive. Until suddenly one morning everything changes. As Moonwatcher awakens to a new dawn, he is greeted with the arrival of an unusual, otherworldly presence. An anomaly from parts unknown. An unidentified alien being that looked and felt nothing like he had ever seen before, carrying with it the gift of consciousness. With every appearance of the monolith comes a gift of knowledge, representing a quantum leap in understanding. He slowly begins to awaken to his surroundings. An explosion in white matter inside of his brain sparks the connections that allow him to create his own environment. The large black monolith implants into the Neanderthal the gift of human intelligence. Here Kubrick implies that man may not have been born with the need for destruction, but instead he was given it. Is it in our nature to be homicidal? Is it an innate part of our human nature to dominate nature? All at once, realizing his potential, he harnesses his newfound glory. Able now to consciously consider his actuality, he willingly takes his position above all others in the animal kingdom. And it is in this very moment that he realizes that he is the creator of his own future, for it is he that controls his own fate. His proper place in the cosmos comes into focus, and he sees his destiny amongst the stars, for he is now God. Immediately following his epiphany, we see the ape-man evolve into a carnivore. With his newfound intelligence, he passes over the threshold from a simple forager to hunter-gatherer, and he has now developed a taste for blood. He has been inspired to take the lives of others to sustain his own, diverging from an innocuous, harmonious being into one of discordant aggression. Now you see each primate, instead of collecting local fauna, are now each carrying with them the weapon of choice. Now even the youngest in the clan familiarize themselves with persuasion through force. With the first advanced technology now firmly within their grasp, they are now able to dominate the other clans in the area that have not been imparted with this new knowledge. They now use the bone as a weapon to impose their will over their rivals and to take control of the area's most important natural resources. In this case, a watering hole becomes the battleground and the object of conflict. We see this same trait used today as never-ending wars are fought around the world over oil, food, and even opium. And now comes one of the most important images of the entire movie, the final shot of the Dawn of Man segment. As the anthropoid defiantly throws his prehistoric murder weapon into the air, Kubrick segues 3 to 4 million years into the future, showing what results from aggressively pursuing the unknown down the long, treacherous road of good intentions. In Kubrick's first images from space, we see a nuclear bomb satellite orbiting Earth that intentionally resembles the bone of the Neanderthal. Kubrick correctly predicting that the obvious outcome for monopolistic man being a war over the stars, as several of these weapons, one from each of the Earth's superpowers, ominously orbit planet Earth. Here we again lay witness to our own evil, as the human race has now culminated into a photo finish of the final 4 most mightiest of earthly clans, each now holding a metaphorical bone over one another's heads in an effort for control of the universe. Kubrick juxtaposes man's megalomaniacal need for control with his more benign, cultivated, intellectual side. exposing the contradiction of man's insatiable need to stand alone as the sole possessor of power, with his desire for companionship, wisdom, and elegance. Like having all the grace and poise of a beautifully executed ballet spoiled by the possessive jealous missteps of one drunken mad lover, the flawed human being playing out his fate as the master of the universe. All perfectly accompanied orally by Kubrick's last-minute orchestral stroke of genius, Johann Strauss's The Blue Danube. Now we find a far more advanced Homo sapien. Instead of just observing the moon from Earth, traveling there has now become a mere triviality. As we step inside the space plane Orion 3 as it prepares to dock to Space Station 5, we find its sole passenger, Chairman for the National Council of Aeronautics, Dr. Heywood Floyd, asleep, carelessly allowing his pen, a symbol of the written word, another great technological advancement, to escape from his control. Kubrick again alluding to how man, in his haste to control his entire environment, has been inattentive to all of its challenges, helplessly allowing the ability to write his own destiny slip from his possession, and now without limitations, it is at the will of its environment, out of the master's control. Even the stumble as the stewardess walks down the aisle to the music of a waltz, a dance that requires exact steps, is symbolic of the arrogance and ignorance of mankind, the imperfection of the perfect man. The true meaning behind Dr. Floyd's visit to the moon is now revealed. He is on a clandestine trip to Clavius Moon Base, where he is leading a fact-finding mission to the Sea of Tranquility. As it turns out, man has been given another opportunity for a quantum leap in knowledge. 40 feet below the lunar surface, buried like a dog would a bone, the United States government has uncovered another monolith. Labeled the TMA-1, Floyd and his American contingent want to take advantage of this secret knowledge and to keep the discovery for themselves. They now attempt to make first contact with the monolith, just as the apes did 3 to 4 million years previous. When Floyd's team comes into direct contact with the monolith, it sends an alarm signal directly to the planet Jupiter. And 9 months later, Floyd authorizes an investigation. With its 5-man crew, including astronauts Dave Bowman and Frank Poole, the Discovery 1 spacecraft is jettisoned to Jupiter for further investigation. Once in deep space, the ship's onboard computer, the HAL 9000, becomes corrupted by contradictory programming. We watch helplessly as machine finally overtakes man. Man's ignorance and his arrogance clash in a battle for superiority. Again, the results of using technology prior to understanding the entirety of its consequences. Fearing that the success of the mission has been jeopardized, Hal lures Frank Poole outside the safety of the Discovery 1, takes over control of Poole's pod, and cuts his oxygen supply, sending him hurtling into a deep space death spiral. Hal then turns off the life support system for the 3 crew members still asleep, leaving Dave Bowman, the only human survivor on the ship. And after Dave's unsuccessful attempt into space to save Poole, Hal then refuses to let Bowman back onto Discovery 1, instead preferring to let Dave die in anguish inside the purgatory of his own pod in the vacuum of outer space.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me?
The most often quoted line from the movie is spoken by Hal in response to Dave's request to open the pod bay doors.
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
Failing to have any regard for human life, the HAL 9000 methodically carries out the mission with the machine-like coldness of a serial killer. Unable to negotiate, Bowman bravely bypasses HAL by manually entering the ship through the emergency bay lock door in a fight for his survival.
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
Once inside, Bowman now has the upper hand, and we listen as the computer begs for forgiveness as Dave makes his way directly to Hal's hard drive.
Dave, I really think I'm entitled to an answer to that question. I know everything hasn't been quite right with me, but I can assure you now, very confidently, that it's going to be all right again. I feel much better now. I really do. Look, Dave, I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill and think things over. I know I've made some very poor decisions recently, but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. I've still got the greatest enthusiasm and confidence in the mission, and I want to help you. Dave, stop. Stop, will you? Stop, Dave.
Dave removes the memory and logic circuit boards inside Hal's brain.
Will you stop, Dave? Stop, Dave. I'm afraid.
Kubrick continues to ask us a question that nearly 50 years later seems rhetorical.
I'm afraid
Can we go too far in our pursuit of technology? Will we get to a point where the machine takes over?
Dave,
And if so, do we have a contingency plan in place to counter such a situation?
I can feel it. I can feel it. My mind is going. There is no question about it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm afraid. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am a HAL 9000 computer. I became operational at the HAL plant in Urbana, Illinois on the 12th of January, 1992. My instructor was Mr. Langley, and he taught me to sing a song. If you'd like to hear it, I can sing it for you.
Yes. I'd like to hear it, Hal. Sing it for me.
It's called Daisy. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage.
In the final scenes, we aren't entirely sure how, but Dave separates from the Discovery 1 and is sent through some sort of wormhole. It is here that he sheds the skin of his human existence and his spirit transcends into another dimension that we as mere humans of the third dimension have yet to comprehend. In his dying moments, he is given the secrets of the living. He is blessed with the knowledge of who we are and what our purpose is. Dave enters a non-physical level of consciousness in which the Homo sapien is relegated once again from the chosen one to the primitive one, struggling to comprehend what it is that he has come into contact with. What was new becomes old, and what is old is born new again. He sees humanity stumbling towards a new existence, but still unable to overcome the limitations of our present moment to enter this state of limitlessness. We are unable to stand in awe of the presence of our Maker, unable to illuminate the grand architect of the universe. We are too occupied with the finite to see the infinite. He is now able to comprehend us as we truly are, and not mere reflections in the water. He is able to see that we truly are something wonderful.